Welcome to today's edition of Instagram live chat with Martin Guitars, my fellow Martin brothers and sisters, and everyone else who loves music. I'm Elliot. Oh, I should probably introduce myself. My name is Elliot Easton. I play guitar with the band The Cars and with my new band, The Empty Hearts. And I'm going to field questions today live on Instagram, and also some that have been sent in advance because Martin gave people the opportunity to ask questions. Okay, so let's start with the. Let's just jump in. There's some great questions that are already sent in. The first one I'll tackle is from Travel on 99 asks, which artist influenced and inspired you the most? And that's a real easy one for me. That would be certainly the Beatles, and not just on a musical level, but on every level, on a cellular level. If you were 10 years old growing up in New York and in 1964, you could not help being so affected by the Beatles, and it was a life-changing experience. It was almost like that moment in Wizard of Oz where it goes from black and white to Technicolor. It was sort of like, the 60s have started. And I was already playing guitar, but seeing the Beatles on Sunday night, that night on the Ed Sullivan Show, it was just sort of galvanizing. You just sort of, I don't know, I kind of saw like what I wanted to do with the rest of my life. It really got to me. That one, the Beatles, I can't really overstate it. That the night that show was on, I couldn't even sleep that night. I was like vibrating and like tossing and turning. It was so exciting to me. And also, they taught us, or my generation, so many things, from how to construct a solo and a hook and put singles together, to how they dressed and how they looked and how much fun they looked like they were having and how cool they were, how they held their guitars. I mean, it wasn't like now where there's millions of magazines and videos and YouTube and all kinds of ways to do that. So, you really got your information from TV and album covers, if you wanted to know what kind of guitar someone played. But that was a huge thing. That was definitely a life changer. Okay, let's try another one. Okay. What was the recording let's see. Natali wants to know, what was the recording process for the first Cars album? And I will tell you after I take a sip of water. Anyway, that record took 12 days to make. It was basically our club set. We went to England to George Martin's studio, Air Studios in London, and it was incredibly exciting. The sort of winter of 1977. None of us had really been anywhere, and it was also the whole punk explosion in '77. So you'd walk down King's Road and you'd see all the crazy styles and mohawks and things like that. But basically, we were so well rehearsed that we banged the album out in 12 days, and then 9 days to mix. A song a day was what Roy Thomas Baker, our producer, wanted to do to save his ears. And so we were done in 21 days. I had my parts down because we'd been playing them in clubs for the better part of a year. So I literally did all my guitar parts in a day and a half, believe it or not, but it's true. And I was like sick with food poisoning, had some kind of weird, I don't know, I ate something weird or something, and I was sick as a dog, and I was sort of like, half delirious, and did all those parts in a day and a half. Okay. A lot of people saying hello from Brazil, hello from all kinds of places. Hello, love you, glad you're here. Let's try another one. Oh, here's a fun one. And it relates to something we were talking about before. Let me grab a guitar for this one. Someone would like to know or asked, what's the perfect chord? And I don't know if there could be such a thing, but I thought about it a little bit. And I thought, if there's one chord that you could play where you would instantly know the song that was to follow, I think it would have to be this one. Now, if you don't immediately hear in your head start singing A Hard Day's Night, then I've missed the mark there. But to me, that chord is so identifiable. There's YouTube videos and instructions how to play the chord. They say it takes the guitar. One guitar plays one inversion, and another plays another, and the bass plays a D. But it's basically like a G sus 11 or looks like that. I'm just barring the 3rd fret and ring finger on the 5th string, 5th fret, pinky on the 3rd string, 5th fret. So, Walking on the Moon, someone asked if that was. I'm gonna smack them. Anyway, that's a pretty great chord. Any chord that instantly tells you what song is about to come up is a good chord as far as I'm concerned. Okay, JDR 3.0, might as well answer this one since I have the guitar in my hand, is what is my favorite instrument to write songs on? And I'm kind of playing it. You see that? Go back a little bit. Here you go. It is, what do they officially call it? It's my signature model. It's an HD Elliot Easton. It's basically, essentially, a pre-war style D28 with all the vintage appointments, only with mahogany back and sides. It's quilted mahogany back and sides, and I don't think the photos really do justice to that. But anyway, my point, I was working with my dear friend who was at Martin then, Dick Boak, and I always loved 18 series guitars. I love mahogany back and sides for recording and for tone. I find it's a very sweet tone with a strong fundamental, and it records great. It sounds good for finger picking and leads and strumming. But I always thought that the 18 style guitars were a little bit plain Jane. Like they always gave the mahogany ones the simplest binding and black binding and very no frills type of guitar, if you're familiar with the series. So my idea was to give props to mahogany, I guess. And so we did sort of a pre-war D28 with mahogany back and sides. It's got an Adirondack top. What else? All the herringbone trim, gold open back Waverly's, old style decal, full gloss even on the back of the neck. I like that vintage style. And Dick had a great suggestion, which was to do herringbone on the rosette, like they had done with the Eric Clapton 0028 EC. So it's just an awesome guitar. It was a limited edition, but I think it has a great deal of merit, and would love to explore that some more, of doing a bit more deluxe mahogany guitar for those who prefer the tone. And Dick actually told me, or it might have been Mike Longworth told Dick that Christian Martin, C.F. Martin the first, who started the company, actually preferred mahogany to rosewood for its tone, which I found kind of interesting. I'll show the fretboard. It's like a pre-war diamond and square inlay on an ebony board. Basically D28 appointments, Bolteron binding, and all the rest of it. I went with gold Waverly's. Let's see. Anyway, it's a great guitar. I love it. Maybe we can get Martin to make some more in this style. We'll see. Let's try another question. Okay, the Jaden Earth would like to know what my fondest memory of Benjamin Orr was. And for those of you who don't know, Ben was the bass player and one of our two lead singers in the Cars, and he sang "Drive" and "Just What I Needed" and a lot of the "Let's Go," a lot of our hits. There's so many fond memories. He was like a brother to me, and he was the greatest guy. But the thing I loved about him, it's not necessarily a specific memory, is that he would do things so selflessly and not mention them and not tell anybody about it. For instance, we found out years later that he was helping a cousin that we didn't even know of financially, just quietly helping them out. But the one that comes to my mind is when we all lived in the Boston area when the Cars were going, active. Ben lived in the same town as me and only a few blocks away. And he was really into his vehicles. Everything was black. He had a black Harley, a black Vet, and a black Blazer. And he had the snowplow attachment for the black Blazer. And when it would snow, he'd go around to all his friends and neighbors without even talking about it and plow out their driveways. And I'd just get up and look, and sometimes I'd see Ben out there plowing my driveway. Just such a sweet thing. God bless, That's the kind of guy he was, and I miss him terribly. So that's for that one. Let's see. Find another one. Have you pursued any new hobbies or interests since the quarantine began? That's a great question. It's something we've all been dealing with. I can't say that I've necessarily discovered any new hobbies, but I've certainly had time to explore the ones that I do enjoy. And that is always, playing guitar, of course, and listening to music, obviously. I love to read, and I have one of those Kindle books with hundreds of books on it, so I read a lot. It's obviously a great time for binge watching on, your favorite streaming channel, Netflix or Amazon or whatever, Hulu. It's just like everybody else. We're just trying to make the best of a difficult situation, and all of us under our roof are just trying to cooperate with each other and be kind to each other. And I think that's what we're all really trying to do, and trying to make sense out of this, and just trying to be safe and listening to what the doctors and the scientists say. But it's just been kind of puttering around the house and just doing the things I enjoy, that I always enjoy doing. Okay, let's see now. Do I have a favorite song? My gosh. I don't know if I have one favorite song, but there's songs that I just think are like perfect or have so much meaning. And one of those would be "I Want to Hold Your Hand," because that was the first song that the kids in America heard from the Beatles. And one last little anecdote about the Beatles and about the song. I told you what it was like seeing that show on the Ed Sullivan Show that Sunday night. The thing is, the next morning I got on the school bus, and you know how school buses were when you were a kid. They were bullies, and people wouldn't let you sit on the same bench as them, and just silly stuff like that, and knock your books out as you're walking down the aisle and stuff, right? That Monday morning after the Ed Sullivan Show, the entire bus was singing "I Want to Hold Your Hand." And I almost get choked up thinking about it. It was something that you would never, ever see, and never probably ever see happen again. But it brought everybody together. And so that gives you a little bit of idea of like what a huge event that was for young people at that period. Okay. Do I have a favorite Cars album? Oh gosh, I would really rather not pick a favorite Cars album. They're all sort of my children, and I feel I love them all and worked really hard on all of them, and also wouldn't want to bias anybody else's opinion of what their favorite one is, because everyone has a different favorite as they are entitled to. So, always, the first time doing anything is always very exciting. So the first album will always have a very special place in my heart. But I love them all, and there's moments on all of them that I'm extremely proud of. Okay, let's see. How did I come to meet the band? That's a good one, too. I was scuffling around Boston. I had gone to Berklee College of Music, and I was playing in local bands, and I had a roommate who answered an ad in the local paper for a sound man needed. And I had nothing to do that night. So I went along with him just to, hear the band. And it turned out that it was a Warner Brothers party for the band Foghat at a roller skating rink outside of Boston. And the entertainment for the night was a band called Richard and the Rabbits, which was named by Jonathan Richman, by the way. And in the band Richard and the Rabbits was Rick Ocasek, Benjamin Orr, and Greg Hawkes. Different drummer, different guitarist. And my buddy, AK, rest in peace, got the gig as a sound man, and that band fell apart, and he kept working with them when they formed a sort of an acoustic duo called Ocasek and Orr. And he was hyping them all the time about his roommate who plays guitar. You got to hear this guy, my friend, play guitar, and he really overhyping me. So eventually I got a chance to try playing with them, and I went over to Ben's house apartment, and we, kind of introduced ourselves and hung out a little bit, and he kind of crossed his arms in front of him and said, "Okay, play something amazing." So obviously I couldn't play anything at that point, but we eventually settled down and calmed down and played some music, and I guess they liked what they heard, and I had a good time with them, and from that grew the Cars. Let's see. Try another one. What can we look forward to from the Empty Hearts after the shutdown? I appreciate that question. The Empty Hearts is my newest band, and it's quite a cool band. Besides myself, we've got Clem Burke from Blondie on drums, amazing drummer. Wally Palmer from the Romantics singing lead for us and playing rhythm guitar and harmonica, fabulous guy. And on bass, the great Andy Babiuk, who was in a band called the Chesterfield Kings. But many of you would probably even know him better by the fact that he wrote the book Beatles Gear, and also the Gear of the Rolling Stones book, and also the Bigsby book. So he's quite an authority, and is often called to authenticate the provenance of things. For instance, when John Lennon's Gibson Jumbo Acoustic was discovered after 50 years, and he's one of the guys that'll go through photos and match up the pattern of a swirl in one area of tortoiseshell or a ding on the guitar, and prove it's the same guitar and stuff like that. So on that level, musically it's a blast because we play the kind of stuff we just love to play. And as far as the guys in the band, it's just beyond fun to geek out with Andy and the guys and talk about Beatles and Gear and the Stones and all that stuff, because we're all kind of authorities. So that's a lot of fun. The Empty Hearts did one album which is streaming everywhere. It's just called The Empty Hearts, and we have a new one coming out August 28th, and there's already a new single streaming from it, and with Ringo on drums, which was a great thrill. And as soon as the world returns to whatever the new normal is and we're allowed to play out, our hope and our wish is to get out there and play as many shows as we can. And if we come to your town, please come and see us, and come and say hello. Okay? Let's see. Guess we have time for a couple more here. Let's see. Bear with me here. Pedals or straight in is a question from Trippin' Tie-Dye. That's a great question. Straight in with a microphone. As far as electric guitar is concerned, pedals most of the time, quite honestly. In the music of the Cars, I have to go from clean twang with slapback for a rockabilly kind of sound for something like Best Friend's Girl to, roaring power chords, You're All I've Got Tonight, or, Candia, or some of the heavier songs, to really singing leads for Just What I Needed or Touch and Go, to wobbly chorusy things for, say, the arpeggios and Bye Bye Love. I have to get a lot of different tones and colors. So I do use pedals. And a couple of my favorites, because somebody's bound to ask, I use a lot of Dunlop stuff. I use their Echoplex and their reverb. And my distortion comes from an MI Audio from Australia, Crunchbox, which I probably shouldn't tell you because I don't want them to be sold out because they're discontinued. And the other pedal that's a favorite of mine is Keeley Electronics, the 30 millisecond, which I just love. And what it is, it's based on something that the head engineer at Abbey Road Studios invented, Ken Townsend invented for John Lennon because he hated doubling his vocals. So it was a way, it was called ADT, or automatic double track. But all it was the original track, and then on a second track, slightly offset time-wise in a sort of uneven way. And it sounds really cool. It doesn't sound like a normal sort of chorus pedal. It sounds like way more, Beatle-y. And things like the solo on While My Guitar Gently Weeps and things like that. That pedal with your, wailing tone, get you right there. And you can use it in stereo and split the two signals. And they even have a thing called Abbey Mode, where with Abbey Road's reverb chamber, literally they shot the reverb chamber and imaged it. And so I love that pedal. And also the Jangle Box I use quite a bit. For 12-string, it's a compressor treble boost. And I also use it for, like, on a Fender, like Bakersfield kind of stuff, pedal steel licks and chicken picking stuff. It works great. Okay. All right. I'm going to answer one more here. And let's see. The question is there anything else that I'd like to talk about while we're here? And so here's what I just want to say. And it's very simple and very obvious. Just be safe. Watch out for yourself. Watch out for your families and your loved ones. Listen to what the doctors are telling us and the scientists. Don't do anything silly because it's a nice sunny day out. We don't want you to die of stupid, okay? This has been an absolute pleasure. I hope you've enjoyed it too. Maybe we can do it again sometime soon. And so this is Elliot Easton from Martin Guitars. Elliot Easton of the Cars. For Martin Guitars, saying, have a great rest of your day and talk to you soon. Bye-bye.